So yeah, today we're gonna have a panel related. We all are Web3 DevRel's, right? So I'm gonna do an intro about myself. I'm the founder of Papermoon. We do DevRel as a service company, and we do DevRel for Polkadot and many other ecosystems as well. I don't think we need to intro you guys because we just heard a couple of your talks. But yeah, we're going to do basically a panel about Web3 DevRel. So the idea is that I prepared some questions. We're going to have a discussion, and at the end we're going to have like a fire chat of like simple one word answers to some questions that I prepared. Okay. So yeah, just to make this presentation self-contained, actually, why don't you just give a short intro about, even though you just presented, but people that are watching online or whatever, just do a short intro actually about who you are. So we can start with you, Francesco.
With you? Okay. Francesco, I'm leading developer relation at Consensus. That's the mother company of MetaMask, Linea, and Viera, and some of their product. And yeah, I'm excited to speak about DevRel again. Yeah, there you are.
Hi, everyone. Bianca, Buzea here, head of DevRel at Chronicle, the team behind the first Oracle on Ethereum. Also founder of DevRel Uni, and likewise, I'm very excited to continue the conversation about developer relations.
Yeah, definitely. How long have you been doing DevRel?
I mean, I started building developer communities when I was in SF, almost like 12 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, but there was the developer advocate role in Web2. DevRel, I think it's kind of like got more exciting when, it was not just advocating for content, but actually building the developer community side of it. So that was, but I'm at MetaMask for around 4 years now.
Okay. And you, Bianca?
In my case, I used to be a solutions architect in Web2, and I jumped into Web3 DevRel about 3-4 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Okay, and I've been doing DevRel for like 5 years, so we're different times in the spectrum of DevRel. It's cool. Cool. So first question, in one word, what is the job of a DevRel in 2025 and 2026? And actually, I asked this question because well, you have been longer here than me, right? But I've seen the role kind of progress and shift from when I started doing it and now. So I want to hear your opinions. We can start with you, Francesco, who's been here longer.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, given the talk around kind of AI-enhanced DevRel, I think, content will be consumed no matter what. So power will shift. What will not shift is relationship and bridging with actually the community itself, right? I think, when you will need extra support, and it doesn't matter like if it's technical support, it could be support in advancing specific things. I think DevRel are the true bridge because they are not just connecting PMs and engineering, but also they are very hands-on and on the ground for feedbacks. Yeah. So I think I would say kind of the role of like bridging and communication is definitely more important.
And I think and we see this in the regular world, right? Like in Web 2, you always have this support agents that are like AI or robots, but at the end of the day, you're like, I want to chat with a human, right? And I think that's still going to happen, right?
Yes.
Do you have any thoughts, Bianca?
In one word, probably I would say inspiring. And this per se, I don't think has changed. What has changed are the tools around us, and the technology, obviously, it's evolving. So I guess for that inspiring bit to do this effectively in 2025, you need to be aware about the tools that you have at your disposal, and also the way builders interact with your protocol. For example, whereas before you would see something like Stack Overflow, people would go to Stack Overflow to find answers. Nowadays, I think they're going to LLMs to find those answers. So you need to keep that in mind and to optimize for this different path, if you want, of people to find information, but also people to find you and your protocol.
And I think you both touched on a point that it's like both said answers that are related to human interactions, right? From your perspective, from the inspiration, and from his perspective, the community. So that's true. And I agree with that. I think DevRel, I always say that it's engineering role, and I think you put it on your presentation that it's also like the human part of it. Like it's engineering with the human touch and like being social and communicating.
Yes.
So
yeah, I really like Bianca's slides around building trust. It's very aligned what the kind of like the developer funnel that I showed before around value driven versus product driven. I think like the game is being played a lot in the value driven. You don't want to show your tooling, you want to show why you are actually doing that you want to kind of like convert even before showing and shilling your product, right? I think building trust is something that is happening on a human level. And yeah, there is no way to replace that, right? And we see that, I mean, there is huge debate on crypto Twitter around the personal branding versus company branding. For example, like if I really want to understand a developer product, the first things I'm doing is who is advocating for that, what's the background, and how is this done? And I'm always looking at personal accounts. Because I don't know, sometimes like when I'm seeing kind of like company accounts, I know there will be very, very objective, and there is kind of like no, I don't know, it's very difficult to kind of like communicate trust on that side.
Cool. And so, changing a little bit of the topic is, it's still nowadays, even though a lot of people use LLMs nowadays to learn things, I think they still go to developer documentation. And at least from the analytics of the websites that we work with, we still see, a huge amount of influx into developer documentation. So from your perspective, and I don't know who is actually now from you two writing developer documentations, so I don't know, maybe you, Francesco, still? Okay, so we can start with you. Well. You do as well? Okay. So we'll start with you this one. What do you think are like the first 2 steps that a developer must take in a developer documentation? So that, from your perspective, that developer documentation is doing a good job?
I think they need to understand what's the protocol about. And second, like you need to be able to onboard them in under 10 minutes. That's how I see it. And by that onboarding, I mean for them to be able to build something small, but build that correctly and start to gain trust that, okay, I've done this, now I can take the next step and go down this.
I would challenge you on the first one though, because my opinion is that they don't have to understand how the protocol works, but in my opinion, it has to be like what they need to understand for the guy, like you were talking about oracles, right? That maybe they don't have to understand how Chronicle works inside out, but they should understand the problem that they're trying to solve, right? Or?
No, what I meant by that, not like how per se like the protocol works under the hood, but like what it is about, like what's
the problem that it's solving.
Exactly, yeah. What's the pain point there?
Yeah, exactly. And why you're using them? Okay, gotcha. You have any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean test. Okay, you can hear. We ran into so we started this DevRel group a couple of years ago, right? And there was a subgroup that was called what was that? Rust my docs or something? Like it was a live stream actually checking out docs of everyone and kind of like rusting it, trying to understand better. But my experience so far is the majority of docs has been built by the engineering team, right? And DevRel is always coming in a second time and is missing a lot of like pieces around onboarding. We're speaking about guides, 10 minutes guide, specific kind of tutorials, how to get started. I think like one thing I discovered at the beginning was like, people were not even able to install dependencies. There was no way that actually, people were redirecting docs were redirecting people to install requirements and dependencies in other company docs, right? And I think that was like a major lack, right? You want to understand your 0 to hero experience has been done in one single property. And I think that was a big lesson learned. I think, the game is shifting a lot, right? I mean, you can start seeing like stuff like around ETH Global, how actually people are learning, how they are consuming content. And I would say if 6 months we had maybe 50% of beginner developer actually looking at docs, I would say right now we have 80-90% people feeding the docs without actually checking docs, crawling all the docs through an LLM and actually asking the specific question, even like looking, right? And you see already in search, in the doc search, right? Before you had, tag specific search, index specific search by keywords. Now you see also like people spinning their own LLM inside the search. And for example, right now on the MetaMask Linea docs, you can spin your dApp directly in the search and is updated with the docs being updated.
Okay, nice.
So your search is becoming the interface on building things. That's probably like the next natural step, seeing how also the movement. I don't know how many of you guys, we can also ask the audience, how many of you guys, there are maybe more beginner developer are actually consuming docs? Yeah? Okay, that's good.
I think an important topic that we can discuss is like, how do you think we as DevRel's are going to use AI? Like, and you presented about that, and that's why I want to go back and check it out again, because like me personally, with Papermoon, we're always thinking about how we can use AI for automation. Like that for me is key, right? I agree with you that I don't think that they're going to replace us because we have that human component that makes DevRel unreplaceable on one sense, hopefully knock on wood. But at the end of the day, how are you guys thinking about using AI for DevRel's? And we can start with you, Bianca.
Yeah, I think there are several optimizations you can do. For example, you can have like a chatbot. I think those are quite popular. We have one at Chronicle. We use Cookbook. I think the team does a great job. And this enables developers to ask questions directly in your documentation, so you don't lose them when they go to a different tab. They search that information somewhere else, and then they get distracted and forget to go back to
And let me interrupt you there. What a lot of people don't understand is that these LLMs, these chatbots, are actually feeding the information from the documentation. So they're not like a magic tool that is like, oh my God, it's great from zero, right? Like you have to have really good content because what they do is that they grab all these sources, they embed them into embeddings, and then they use it as like, the source of truth. And so the first stepping stone is to having great content, great quality material so that these things like Cookbook, Kappa can use it, right? Sorry that I interrupted. But.
No worries. Another thing I would probably add is having something like LLMs.txt in the root of your documentation. And what this file basically does, this enables AI tools, language models to easily parse the documentation. Because at the end of the day, you need to think how these things work under the hood. They're not like humans, so they need the data to be fed in a bit of a different way in order to give accurate results.
And you, Francesco, you did mention a little bit, but can you elaborate?
Yeah, of course. So I defined this, can you guys hear me? I defined these 6 work streams, right? I think one of my highlights is obviously the content distribution and also like handling PRs. There was a time we had 800 PRs in the MetaMask repo. And handling that is not easy, but most important also like triaging specific asks with specific features to each department. I think like on the DevRel side, I think like it helped a lot, mostly on the senior DevRel side, to speed up like PR reviews, connecting PRs to kind of like the comments that we have in Discuss, so automatization on that side. And then content distribution. Now, like the focus on each DevRel obviously is focusing on the content side, so writing, drafting, recording, and then kind of like the automation is done. I would say 80% automated, right, through like full newsletter, Reels creation, kind of like top elements and top moments being already drafted for the social media team to get it. So I think content distribution is a big game because I think like we should repurpose more content by the people that we trust, right? So this trust element I think is also super important. And again, we're coming back to kind of like, personal, like how people will consume content, tutorials, guides. I think like will be more and more on the author trust rather than just a random guide that you see on Lobster in the morning. Yeah.
So in our case at Papermoon, what we're like trying to do with AI right now, like their main 3 verticals. One of them is PR reviews, like you said. Yep. Make sure that it sounds like it's the same person writing all guides. Because like if you have a person write one guide and another person write one guide, they can have very different writing styles, and so try to coordinate everything onto a single voice, basically. Also following brand guidelines, right? Like one guy might write testnet with like, I don't know, capital T, but then lower whatever, and then so try to make sure that everything stays on brand. Another one that we're thinking about is like content translation, right? So imagine like, I don't know, MetaMask has a huge community in Vietnam, and you want to have Vietnamese documentation because they need it, right? But if you use DeepL or whatever, technical documentation, they do a really bad job. And so maybe having like an AI model that can help translation can help. And the other one that we found that is interesting is that we had an issue in which one of our pages didn't render very well, and like it's really hard for you to like see this with tests. It's not. And so having an AI that can check like the health of the website, and because they can scan so much data so fast, like they can check everything and make sure that the actual HTML files that you're creating are actually like the way you want it. And so, but yeah, I think all of us are doing different things, which is it's really exciting to see that fine. Cool. Last question before we go to the fire chat because I'm excited about it. because this is to me, it's a tough thing that I've seen how it degraded over time, right? Initially, there was so much excitement about Web3, and now it became very incentive driven, right? It was all about incentives and how you deploy incentives here and there. And actually, you mentioned about it a little bit as well. How are you managing creating real communities that are not just incentive driven? They actually have value for the project or the protocol? We can start with you, Francesco.
Yeah, it's definitely hard, right? You know, I make the example around Builder Nights, right? Why also like Builder Nights kind of like became such a movement was because there was no kind of like shield involved, right? Like the idea was building, we are always debating technical topics on crypto Twitter, but we never really like put this on a IRL pedestal, right? Because you know it's kind of a consequence because every ecosystem has its own conference, so automatically you're actually like hearing you know updates and what's happening in their own ecosystem, right? And I think like Builder Night teaches us like how powerful is building this value-driven activation and building trust first. And I think that's also a consequence, right? When you start speaking about, I don't know, like 437, you start to speak about how smart accounts or specific account abstraction delegation are working, right? So, but is the way that you are doing is matter the most, right? And that's how you build a resilient community, right? You are, people understand also your true mission is debating topics, debating specific verticals. And then the second question is how I can enable those discussion better. So I think going back to this is value-driven onboarding versus kind of like product conversion second.
So for you, it's basically having like a feedback loop that is not like single-sided from community to protocol, but also like, you know, giving back to community, not incentives, but like a way to like engage more actively. Yes. And make sure, okay.
Yeah, I mean, the feedback loop is another big discussion, right? I think like, you know, especially in Web2, you know, we are trying to be value extractive, right? You know, let's get feedback from the community. Let's get, you know, grants to the community to deliver our new product that is still not on the market, right? I think, yeah, I think like, this kind of like value extraction method, it doesn't work if we want to build a resilient community. And instead, we should empower community to build tooling and build framework. Like MetaMask Naps took like, you know, 3 years. And right now, anybody in the community that can extend functionality of what the extension does today. You know, maybe in the future, you will have, you know, wallets that will go more open source and more driven by the community, right? But I think like the fact that you can empower a specific developer in the ecosystem is extremely powerful, right? That is much more than just asking for feedback.
Yeah.
I would maybe add here, I think it's important to tap into the intrinsic motivation of a builder of joining a community and participating in that community. Because at the end of the day, yes, you can, through incentives, financial incentives, material incentives, and people will show up, that's for sure. We know that. But at some point, those incentives will dry out, and you want people to actually care to stay after these incentives dry out. And this is why I'm saying that I think it's very important to identify that intrinsic motivation of builders, why they want to contribute to your project, what drives them there. How can they become successful, basically, at the end of the day, using your technology, and to build starting from there?
And I think like 5 developers that are more aligned with the projects are worth 100 times more than incentive-driven developers, right? They're just going to come and go as they wish. So, yeah. No, I would agree.
And you see a lot of like different activation. Can you guys hear? You see a lot of different activation, like, you know, like Sozo House that is not pushing, you know, developers to act on a specific bounty, Eigenvault. So this kind of like, you know, you still have bounty, but they are basically converted in specific milestones post the hacker house, right? Yeah. That's why it's very important that I was mentioning before, trying to understand the target audience and target developer. If you're kind of like in for like specific feedback around the product you want to launch, you know, an hackathon, you know, bounty farmers are a perfect kind of like, you know, target, right? If you're trying to build a low funnel accelerator, I mean, you need to have sustainable dApps founder that want to extend the functionality of their product, and they're already on their mission. You're just enhancing their mission, right? You know, I'm being very critical around the hackathon
Oh, me too.
because you know, the fresh codeness is also enforcing people to start from scratch in 48 hours. Instead, you know, like for example, with stuff like the MetaMask Dev Cook-Off, online hackathon, we always encourage people to extend the functionality and, you know, and deploy on Linea or use the SDK, like the MetaMask SDK for delegations. So the extension is also what matters, because if not, you will always get fresh developer that have very short-term, I don't know, cycles, right?
Yeah,
So-
and you want long-term builders. So at the end of the day,
Drop the
because
mic. Just
a little bit too early though. We're
a
still-
little bit early, yeah.
All right, let's go to the fireside chat. So I brought, they don't know any of these questions. I brought 5, 6 questions. The idea is that you only answer with one word or one statement. No, it's not make it more than 10 seconds, okay? So first question, burger, pizza, or ice cream?
Burger.
Pizza.
Pizza, oh, so not a sweet tooth, okay, so I would say burger as well, anyways. All right, now DevRel related. Name one thing DevRel teams should stop doing.
That who? Who should have
DevRel teams.
Oh, DevRel teams.
Should stop doing.
I think
Marketing incentives that are not aligned with the purpose of the
Okay.
protocol. That's more than one word, but
Yeah, no, but it's true, okay.
I think PRs, like you know, PR, like press releases.
I was like, PRs, man.
Like no, not PRs, yeah, like press
Okay.
releases, like the kind of like the marketing side that is on the product, but is not really a section that like a DevRel role should.
So they should focus more on the tech, the technology, the community, and not on the, like she said, like more on the marketing side. All right, I would agree with that. Okay, this is a tough one as well. I'm putting you guys on the spot. One metric that you think is successful related to like DevRel work, you know?
is successful.
Yeah.
monthly active builders.
Okay.
Yeah, monthly active developers. I think, yeah, I mean, on SDK usage, like telemetry for SDK activity.
Okay.
That's
So usage on the APIs or as any of the SDKs. That's true as well. So
It
they're
depends
related.
a lot on the protocol.
Yeah. It
and
depends
how-
on the
yeah.
product, right? So I would agree. So basically something that is recurrent, right? It's like it's not one time. Like you get a huge peak and then, okay, a month after. So stuff that are recurrent. All right, that's interesting. Name one thing that can instantly improve developer experience.
you know, the
Empathy.
Or anything, yeah.
Empathy. No, I said empathy.
Oh,
Like when you're
oh.
empathic
That's
and you put
nice.
yourself in the shoes of the developer, you can improve a lot the
Okay.
developer experience. So.
That's a good one. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
I think this 10 minutes, 1 hour tutorial.
Okay, all right, so having tutorials like broken down into different, okay, that's also a good one. I agree with that. You know, especially because like when I started, I'm actually a mechanical engineer. I did a PhD in internal combustion engine, so when I went to Web3, I was like, I have no clue what I'm getting to. And so for me, starting with super short tutorials was super helpful, but now that I've gained experience, I want more like in-depth things. Like I can, like those segmentations are important as well. Cool. All right, there are a couple more. Favorite tool in Web3? MetaMask Snaps?
Snaps. Hard
Remix
at.
probably onboarded the largest number of people, I would
Okay,
say.
Remix. Okay.
Yeah.
It's buggy, but I agree with you. It's very visual. It's very
Yeah.
easy, but sometimes it's frustrating. But okay, I agree.
For newcomers, I think it does
Yeah.
the job.
Okay, and yours?
Ardet. Yeah.
Okay.
Ardet.
All right. Okay. Interesting. And then this is similar, but you can extend it a little bit more. Like favorite AI, IDE or SDK or LLM, like the one that you use day in and day out. AI related tool or
Claude.
Claude Code.
Yeah. I would say Cursor, even if there is a lot of like scammy plugins and stuff.
Okay. But you both like use it on a daily basis.
Yeah. For
Okay. And you use it, so like you use the agentic mode basically. It's like that's you're in it, using it in Cursor or Claude Code directly in the terminal or in VS Code every day basically.
Yes.
And how do you use it for? Like to write documentation or more to check on code or?
Sending PRs for docs.
Okay.
Reviewing PRs.
Oh wow.
Or you're just building simple guides. just for myself, that maybe we can actually like help the team to kind of like publish.
To be honest, one of the ways that I've used it recently is like, can you check for grammar? Just in case I mistype, you know?
Oof,
Instead of reading the entire thing, it's just can you check? And it's like, oh, you misspelled this. Yeah, it's just like little tiny things, but it helps a lot. Cool. Yeah, that's all I had. I think we're on time. I didn't hear any music, so I guess it's good.
We're good.
Yeah, thank you for being here, and thank you for the ones watching online as well. So thank you for also having me and so on.
Thank you so much.
And thank you all very much for your time. Give it up one more time for this excellent panel.